Hello, my friends. Welcome. I hope everybody is having a fantastic day. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Crystal DeCuna here from the Inside View. Today, we're talking about all things employee engagement. So, if you're watching us on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on YouTube, come on in, my friends. Let us know where you're from, where you're watching from. So, I'm here in Niagara Falls, and it is a beautiful day actually in Niagara Falls. It was a little bit rainy today, but it's looking good right now. So, my friends, we're going to dive into three specific areas of employee engagement. So, go ahead and let me know in the chat where you're from. And if you are watching this live, go ahead and type in CX Live, hashtag CX Live in the chat. And if you're watching this on the replay, go ahead and type in hashtag CX replay. So CX, for those of you newcomers to my page, it is for customer experience. So welcome, my friends. Thank you so much for being here. Come on in. Go ahead and tell me your comments in the chat as you're coming in. But we're going to dive into a couple of things. Now, when it talk about employee engagement, it's a hot topic right now for a lot of organizations because we're so challenged when it comes to finding fantastic talent right now. We know that that's an issue that many of our clients, as well as others, are facing. The consistent topic on this, the resignation, the great resignation that we're talking about and that we're hearing so much about, it is definitely a challenge for organizations. And so we wanted to be able to give you some tools on how you can continue to keep engagement high within your organization, especially for you small, medium businesses where, you're perhaps under that 100 employee mark or under the 300 employee mark. And you may or may not have a strategic process when it comes to employee engagement. Often organizations jump from like that 30 to 50 employees and they take a big jump to that 100 employee mark, and during that process we often don't put in place a complete structure on creating those employee engagement strategies. And so today, I'm going to share a couple of statistics I found that are just eye opening. And when we're talking about 2022, we're going into another year. We don't know what it holds. We certainly know that this past 18 months, I don't know how many months it's been now. It's been a lot of months. We know this has been one of the most challenging times ever for everybody. And so given that fact, when I pulled some of this research, it's scary out there, my friends. These statistics are really, really scary. So a recent poll done by Gallup was sharing how 69% of employees say that they would work harder if they were better appreciated, right? And so we know things like we need to be able to put into practice appreciation methodologies and employee recognition programs. But here's the thing, with remote working and people are separated, not all in one group anymore, not working from the same office place. These things are all getting more and more challenging for leaders to be able to implement as well. So not just is it that the employees or the front line are having a difficult time, feeling appreciated and valued, but it's also really challenging for our leadership team to be able to think of new and creative and innovative ways to show their value and show the appreciation they have. Hey, my friends, welcome. I see a couple of you. Come on in. Let me know where you're from and let me know where you're watching from. That would be great. And hashtag CX Live and hashtag CX Replay. If you are watching this on the replay or on the live, let me know. All right. So one of the things we found with small, medium businesses in particular is that 63% of them say that it's harder to retain their talent right now than even hire talent. Right, so we're in this challenging time of the Great Resignation, and people are having a really tricky time finding people. But 63% of them are saying it's even harder to keep them. Once we find great talent, how do we keep them? Right? Because we know that when we can keep them, we can continue to develop them and, grow their potential and grow them throughout the organization. And that's when we start to see real value. And so we want to be able to share a couple tips with you on kind of what employee engagement is, what it's not, and then a few tools that you can use to start to kind of implement in action some of the things. And really, I'm looking at a couple of numbers here. According to Gallup, 85% of employees are not engaged. That's a 2020 study that Gallup released. 85% of employees are not engaged, my friends. 81% of them are considering leaving. So I want you to take a look at your organization. 85% of your team, chances are, give or take. I know a lot of my followers are really passionate about employee engagement, but many of you, you're passionate about it, but is your entire organization committed to that same goal? And so if we're looking at numbers like this, where 85% of the team is not engaged, and only 15% of the team is engaged, I mean, just think about that for a moment. You've also got your organization spread out now. Perhaps you're working remotely. So it gets even more challenging when you have a minimal number of people that are engaged and actually, together, because everybody is so remote and spread out. And with 81% of them considering leaving, I want you to think about this: is when they're considering leaving, some of the data shows that they're not considering leaving for more money. They're not considering leaving for more money. In fact, millennials in particular say that if they were leaving, then it's not, hey, my friend, hey, Hassan, nice to see you. Thanks for being here. Millennials in particular, 74% are saying that they would actually take a pay cut to be able to go to an employer or a place that they know that they can make a difference and that it's their ideal work environment. So if we know this to be true, then this fear factor or this mindset or this roadblock that many employers have, that, hey, if we pay them more, they will come. My friends, that is a myth. That is an absolute myth, right? And so you want to start to dive into things within your organization that will create a culture of success. And so some of the things that are highly valued by our millennials and even beyond is, time. Right? We know that time is important. Are we doing that 9 to 5 punch clock that we know is so, old school, or are we giving them that time and autonomy? For example, in our organization, we work on a row environment. So it's a results only work environment. And it's really about the results at the end of the day. Did we get the work done that we were supposed to get done? Were we practicing the behaviors that we wanted to practice? And the team has flexibility on their time and their schedule. Of course, we've got some structure around a few meetings. Every day we have our daily huddle. Sometimes the huddle goes a little bit longer than normal, but for the most part, it's that consistent, quick huddle where we talk about our little, our things that we need to get done. We've got some tracking tools that help us do that. But then at the end of the day, it's their time is, I value them, and I value that they're going to be able to make the decisions they need to make to get their work done. So, they may put in more hours, they might put in less hours, but it's up to them to be able to work, at their pace when they want to. The other thing that's important for that next generation is really appreciation. So what type of methodologies are we putting in place to show appreciation and value within our organization? Diversity, equity, and inclusion is a really important factor for them. Is your organization checking a box when it comes to D&I, or are we actually putting practices into place that allow new team members and our current team members to be engaged and committed, and they see that the company is committed to that diverse, inclusive environment. Growth potential is also another big one, right? They want to be able to know that their effort makes a difference and they're contributing to the growth of the organization, and that there's really that element of potential growth for them, right? People want to be able to get into places, and it's not just for money, but they want to be able to make influence. They want to be able to inspire, and that comes with that leadership capacity and that role. All right, so let me share a couple things for you. I want to talk a little bit about what actually employee engagement is, because as we're talking to some of our clients, what we're finding is that there's this disconnect between what employee engagement is, what employee happiness is, employee satisfaction, and employee wellness. And although they're all very closely related, and although they're all very, intertwined and connected, they are very different, my friends. Each one is very different. And so, depending on what you may be measuring, and hey, with small, medium businesses, I know often we may not be measuring this. And this is one of those things that we want to start getting clear on. If you've got a team of 10 or more, you should be measuring this. And so think of that. Think of, are you measuring employee satisfaction, employee happiness, employee engagement? employee wellness. What's important to your team? I mean, ideally, we'd like to measure all of them, but we want to start. It's better done than perfect. We want to start. We want to start getting some metrics and numbers so that we can start to really make progress. We know that when things are written and real, when we are accountable to a number, then we see success in that. But when we don't measure it, we know what happens, right? It gets dropped. It gets to the bottom of the list because it's not a key performance indicator. So we want to be able to make it one of those numbers that's really important, because ultimately, we know that it affects so many more metrics within our organization. All right, so employee engagement is the strength of the mental and emotional connection employees feel towards the work that they do, their teams, and their organization. So if you can picture it for a moment, you've got your employee, your team member, for example. You've got the organization itself, and you've got the customer. And so it's this connection that they're engaged when they feel like their team, their organization, and their customers are all committed to them, and that they're committed to the organization. And so it's really this emotional connection that an employee starts to have with not only the organization but the team members, and that commitment to customers, because that commitment to customers, that starts with your vision and your core values. And is that something that we as an organization are consistently inspiring our team with? Are we consistently sharing with them how we've moved the dime forward, how we've lived our core values? Or are they just writing on the wall, right? We want to be able to practice that day in and day out. So let me share what it's not. It's not employee happiness. Employee happiness is it's a short-term goal. It's a short-term, rapidly changing measurement. So, for example, an employee might feel temporarily happy from a raise that you gave them, or perhaps they were able to resolve a dispute. So they're happy that we were able to move forward. So that's that short-term, quick win type of thing. Hey, I'm happy in this moment, or my employer appreciated me and valued me. I'm happy in this moment. But that's not employee engagement long term. So, for instance, in our team, we try, it's a small team. We've got a small group of us, but there's also, there's a lot of employee happiness moments. And so, there's, Crystal valued me, or my team valued me, or we made progress, or, we were able to win that client. And so there's those happiness moments. But the engagement is different. The engagement is this deep, long-term connection that individual has with the organization, because they see that the organization is committed to growth and committed to, within our organization, committed to customer experience excellence. And the way we've hired our team is so customer-centric like they're so focused, and they have such a customer-centric mindset that's their commitment. Their commitment is to make sure that they're seeing organizations grow, and with that employee engagement at the heart of everything they're doing. So that's really the difference. Employee happiness is those moments of truth where employees are really happy and connected, but it's not engagement. Engagement is long-term, deep, and committed to that bigger goal. So let's talk a little bit about employee satisfaction. This can be measured more at the surface level. So, for example, an employee that's satisfied might not be engaged. They might be happy with the steps that they're taking. They might be happy to go a little bit above and beyond. They usually stick around. This person is driven to, I'm going to go the extra mile. I'm going to do a little bit more work. This is a happy employee that's satisfied with the work they're doing. They're seeing that their effort is making a difference, and they feel significant in the work that they're doing. So they feel satisfied that, hey, whatever it is that I'm doing, I'm making the company better. I'm making that customer experience better. I'm making the employee experience better, that their effort makes a difference. And hey, that's a human need to feel significant. And so there is that level of satisfaction increases when they can see that their effort makes a difference. However, again, it's different than employee engagement. Employee engagement, engaged employees are more productive. While they're satisfied, they tend to it's not a one-time thing. It's consistently throughout their work experience. So they're consistently committed to that innovation process and that satisfaction process. But it's not just that one moment of, hey, we did this project, we're satisfied, and we move on. When they're engaged, that's part of it. That's consistent. Okay, we've done it. What's next? right? They're constantly looking for that next level because they're thinking of things as an organization, not just as an individual or as a silo or as a group, as a department. The next one is employee wellness. Now, wellness is taken, with COVID-19, it's still lingering throughout the world. Wellness is definitely one of those top priorities for organizations right now. We want to make sure that we're taking care of the mental wellness, the physical wellness of our team. A lot of that is up to the team itself, right? Those individuals themselves, it's a self care type of thing where they need to be able to invest in themselves to put time and money to make sure that they're their best self at work. But from an employer's perspective, it really evaluates this combination of their stress at home, their physical and their mental wellness. Are they eating well? Are they sleeping well? It's a combination of everything. And is work affecting that balance? We want to make sure that work is a contributor to the positive energies that they're getting in their work life balance. So, they're not losing sleep at night. They do have the time to eat lunch and have the breakfast and the snacks. They are not, if they make a mistake, they're not holding on to it long term, that it's upsetting them. It's causing physiological changes in their body, maybe headaches or rashes or, some type of irritation that they're actually seeing physiologically. And so it's important for employers to be able to understand how the work that somebody's doing is actually affecting their balance. But again, my friends, it's not employee engagement, right? Employee engagement is when they are emotionally connected and committed not only to the organization but to the people involved in the organization, to that bigger goal, that vision, that mission, those core values, and ultimately to customer experience excellence, right? To be able to satisfy our customers' needs, because they know that in everything they do, in every way they're doing it, it's contributing to that greater good. So that's really, I want to clarify employee engagement, because we're seeing a lot of kind of, well, they're happy, they're satisfied, but are they engaged? Right? If we just shared that number with you from a Gallup study, that 85% of employees are not engaged at work. And that's just this year, 2020. It was the year last year, 2020, during COVID. And so really want you to kind of think of that as we go forward. All right, before we dive into the next one, my friends, thank you for being here. Go ahead and let me know in the chat if you are watching live or replay. You can type in hashtag CX Live or hashtag CX Replay. Let me know where you're from in the chat as well. So we are live right now on YouTube, on Facebook, and on LinkedIn. So thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. So let's dive into my second topic, really, is talking a little bit about surveys. Surveys are, a really great tool. There's multiple survey companies out there that we work with and that we recommend. However, it really depends on the type of business you are. So if you want some more detailed onto which survey platform to use, please connect with me. I'm happy to share. We have multiple ones that we recommend, but it really depends on the type of business that you're looking for. Now, survey is just one form of gathering data. We know in the customer experience space, my friends, we know that there's voice of customer or voice of employee data that we can get from multiple ways. But surveys is one of them. It's typically one of the most common ones that is used in small business. So that's what we wanted to dive into today. And there's three types of surveys that you can really help to measure your employee engagement. And so the first one I want to share, it's a typical employee engagement survey, a comprehensive survey. It helps leaders to understand engagement at the organizational level. And these surveys include questions that are scientifically proven to measure employee engagement. And so one of the companies that we highly recommend for this is, it's a Canadian company. It's called Office Vibe. Hey, my friends at Office Vibe, if you're watching, you know how much we love what you do. And Office Vibe is a great survey platform because you're able to actually not only measure with scientifically proven questions the engagement, but you're also able to communicate. You're also able to be able to communicate anonymously to your team and ask more questions and dive a little bit deeper. Here's the thing with surveys. If you haven't done them, start. We need to start to measure and benchmark our employee engagement. As I mentioned earlier, if you've got a team of 10 or more, start measuring. Start measuring and start understanding where you are, because we know that if you've got, a team of 10 or more, you're going to be at 20 in no time, and perhaps even more, depending on how your organization grows and what your growth plans are like. Your team goals may change. And you may grow your team faster than expected. And so because of that, you want to make sure that you're really understanding the benchmark and the numbers, because without a measurement, we can't change things, right? So we want that benchmark of employee engagement. A pulse survey is also a really great option. And so pulse surveys are really designed to help organizations gather real-time feedback on a topic in at any time. So for example, if you're launching a new product, if you're launching a new service, if you're launching a new, a new change to your core values, a new executive team is coming in. This is a pulse survey so that you're able to kind of put your finger on the pulse of how your team is feeling. Disney does this really well, as they actually do pulse surveys almost every day, and they have an idea every day how their team is feeling. And so it's made up of 1, 2, or 3 questions, short questions that will take under a minute to respond, and you get a pulse of how the team is feeling. So again, regardless of the size of your company, if it's 10 or more people, start thinking of things like this when you're launching new products, new services, new tools. You want to get the feedback of your team to really understand if perhaps perhaps there's things that you can do to shift it and change it and make it a stronger employee experience. Often when we're launching products or services, it's the leadership team developing it, going through the testing process, ideating it, and launching it. But often that frontline team may not be involved in that process, and they might have opinions on the launch of it and how to be able to successfully make sure that that customer experience is fantastic. And they might see operational challenges and logistical challenges that you may not see as a leadership team. And so it's really important to be able to get your finger on the pulse on how that can happen. All right, my friends, go ahead and let me know where you're from. And if you're watching this live or on replay, go ahead and type in hashtag CX Live for my live friends and hashtag CX Replay for my replay fans. All right, let's keep moving. Next survey I want to share is employee life cycle survey. So employee life take two. Employee life cycle surveys. They allow you to collect feedback during key moments in their long-term tenure with the organization. So for example, if somebody's been with the organization, I like to do them at 21 days, those first 21 days, so that you really get an idea of, is it overwhelming for them? Are they stressed? Are they able to, are they excited? Are they passionate? Where are they at that first 21 days? Do we need to do more training so that they feel more equipped? Are they still hesitating? Are they still that person that's going to say, well, I'm new here, right? You start to identify that when you can identify at key moments of truth in their journey, how they're feeling. So I like to do them at the 21-day mark, perhaps again, at the 6-month mark, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, or maybe it's a yearly type of survey, maybe it's a quarterly survey, but you want to be able to identify the key moments within their journey with you. So new hire surveys is one that I really like. 21 days, 60 days, 90 days. That's kind of my start process, again, depending on the organization. But what's their overall outlook on the future? Do they see a long-term relationship with your company? That new hire survey is really going to be able to get you an understanding on, hey, did we make the right hiring decision here? What were the behaviors in that training, the onboarding, the hiring process? What could we have done differently? Perhaps if that person's not satisfied and may not be there long term, then that's where we can be vulnerable and look deep and say, what could we have done a little bit differently? But if they are committed, then you want to look and say, hey, what did we do really well? What did we do well? What can we replicate? What do we want to make sure is consistent in our process? Another survey would be the stay survey, right? Why are employees still working at the company? We want to find out why they're sticking with us. What do they appreciate and value that we're doing? What could drive them to leave? What mistake could we make? Or what, is it a new merger? Is it a new acquisition? Is it a new, workload? Is there new, what could drive that person to leave? And so we want to find that out. And then, what can prevent, what can we do to prevent challenging situations for them? What can we do to make their job easier? How do we make sure that they stay? That's what we want to find out. So that survey is making sure that again, it shows value, and it also shows that we're able to identify that, okay, these are some elements we can do to make sure that we're retaining our top talent, right? Okay, and the last one is exit survey. Many of you know this, especially now that we've got this great resignation happening. I think this is a really valuable survey. Now, a lot of people, a lot of organizations that we're seeing are avoiding this survey right now because of the great resignation, because this is such a challenging time. They're avoiding it. And my friends, I would tell you now is the time to do this more than ever before. Is you want to find out that data. Why are they leaving? And you'll be able to identify, is it money? Are we paying a fair wage for your type of work, or is it other things? Did they not feel valued, appreciated? Did they not feel like there was growth opportunity? Was it that they were being expected to come into the office and they really want to work remotely? Was it that they didn't feel engaged working remotely and they didn't feel connected and they need to come into an office? What is the challenge? And so that exit survey will give you such robust data, because at that time when somebody's leaving, they can be completely vulnerable with you. They've got a new job, they've got another job, and they're not worried to give you that feedback, as long as we ask respectfully and really ask them because we want to grow and get better and perhaps win them back one day. Maybe those changes, we can win that person back because maybe those are changes that we need to do, and maybe they'll tell us that in that exit survey. So those are just a few surveys to really identify kind of that overall employee life cycle. I call them life cycle surveys. So there's a few to help you and kind of map out where you want to do. Now, last thing we want is to be, survey bombarded. So I wanted to kind of give you a little bit of a focus on how do we action these survey results. So let's say you've done a survey. We did a talk just yesterday, actually, on employee engagement, and there was about 30 businesses in the room. And I said, when was the last time you did an employee engagement survey? And 30 small businesses in that room, and one business did an employee engagement survey pre-pandemic, right? So that just tells you that those other 29 businesses have not done an employee engagement survey. Large businesses, established businesses. When I say large, I mean like all probably under about 100 people. All so small business, not large, but bigger on the small scale. And having not have done an employee engagement survey, that will really be able to identify how we can get better. So let's say you do a survey and you're like, okay, Crystal, we're going to do this. We're going to start the year off and get a clean palette so we can, measure it and identify our benchmark. What do we want to do with those results? So I've put together, I think I've got 7 steps here. Yes, I've got 7 steps I've put together that I think will really help you to be able to actually action your survey results. Okay, so step 1. Step 1, you want to be able to get clear. Get clear on your why. Why are you doing the survey in the first place? What are the outcomes that you're looking for from that survey? And what's in it for your organization to do the survey? Are we doing it to check a box, or are we doing it because there is potential benefit to the organization and the people once we're able to, identify some of the data from this and really analyze the data deeply? I also want you to identify, when you're getting clear on this in that first step, it's also about establishing time, money, and resources. What amount of time, money, and resources are we going to commit to this entire process? Because doing a survey is not just about doing a survey, getting the results, and sitting on them. Go ahead and tell me in the chat if you've ever done a survey and it's taken months, perhaps years, to action those survey results. We see this all the time. When people do the survey, but they're just not prepared to action certain things, or it takes longer to action certain things because one person's in charge of it. And so what we want to be able to do is, from the very get-go, make it one of those strategic priorities to say, okay, we're going to do this survey. This is why we're doing it. This is the driver of it. And this is the time, money, and resources that we're going to put to this. All right, step number 2 is you want to select a championship team. These are individuals that will champion change once the feedback is received. So again, there's a couple steps here before we even put that survey out, right? We want to make sure that we've got this champion team. Now, within organizations, I would say, in the 100 people mark, or even a little bit less or more, when you're identifying that championship team, really important to this is a way you can start to break down those silos a little bit, is that you're gaining everybody, people from different organizations are committing to that team, so that you're getting perspective from multiple organizations. I talk so much about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And you want those diverse perspectives, and you want to include people from different departments, different areas of the business, different makeups. So for example, different sexual orientations, gender. So you're removing some of the biases, and you're going to start to get really robust, rich action when everybody on that championship team brings diverse perspectives to the table. All right, number three, you put out those results. You put out the survey and you review the results with vulnerability. So the survey feedback comes back. Number three, what are you going to do with it? Here's my thing, is we want to be vulnerable. We want to be able to listen. And one of the things I do, actually I do this a lot in focus groups. When we do focus groups, often we're doing it, the company stays out of it and it's just us, and their customers or their employees allow real vulnerability, real transparency, real authenticity we see in those focus groups, because people are willing to share with us anonymously, confidentially, and we get some real rich data. But applying that same methodology to a survey, when we're sharing these results, when the championship team has the results and they start to share it with the leadership team, or perhaps with the whole organization, here's a couple rules. You want to listen without defending, denying, or explaining. Those are my rules. You want to listen. Do not defend, do not deny, and do not explain. This takes a real humble pill. You have to take a real humble pill when you're listening to the results of a lot of these surveys, because although we might think we're doing it great, often we see the first, when we get those survey results back, and there may be one or two challenging comments on there, or multiple comments on there. Our first human response is to get defensive, right? And to say, well, that's because we were short staffed, or that's because we were this, or that's because it was on a weekend, or that's because I wonder who that is. I wonder who responded that way, right? Go ahead and let me know in the chat if that's something that you see or that you feel, if you've ever felt it before. Hey, we're human, my friends. And when somebody, we're working so hard, and when somebody's responding on a survey saying things that, don't align with your good intentions, that gets challenging. And so it's only human to be, defensive, and to perhaps say, explain, but wait a minute, let me explain. There was not, we didn't have this, or we ran out, or there was supply shortages, or all the excuses we can come up with. When you're gathering your results from your survey, you want to be able to remove the defense, remove the denial, and remove the opportunity for you to explain. You just want to listen. You want to listen, you want to learn. And what you want to replace these things with, defending, denial, and explaining, you want to replace it with listening, understanding, and empathizing. That's really what you want to do, is empathize. Put yourself in the shoes. You have to connect with a place, within yourself that aligns to where that person may be coming from. And my friends, it is challenging. We know it is challenging, but that's what we're going to be able to do to start actioning some of this. All right, step number 4. How are you guys? Go ahead and tell me in the chat if this is valuable, if you're getting some good nuggets here. Go ahead and let me know your thoughts. Again, hashtag CX Live if you're watching this live, hashtag CX Replay if you are watching this on replay. All right, number 4, as an organization, not as a leadership team, focus on 2 or 3 areas for 2022 or beyond. So you've got all these results, you've got maybe 10 things that are jumping out at you. And typically what we see is a leadership team identifies 2 or 3 of them and goes to action, and then tells the greater team, hey, this is what we've identified. These are the 3 things. I flipped the script here, and I would suggest to involve everybody in that process. So whether it's, you send out some more information, whether you engage them in a quick workshop, but whether you take those 10 priorities and you send them out again and say, hey, here's what we identified, with these parameters, if this was our time, money, and resources, and these are our current challenges, what are the things that you would say are our top 2 or 3 priorities, and take a vote on it. That's a way that you're going to get some buy-in, right? You want to be able to get buy-in so that they feel like their effort is really making a difference. Not only are they contributing to the content of that list, but now they're contributing to being part of the solution, right? And that's what's going to build stronger culture. They're now contributing to be part of the solution. So as an organization, not as a leadership team, you want to focus on 2 or 3 key priorities that you can dive deep into. And when I say dive deep, you want to go 5 whys deep, 10 whys deep. You want to go deep, and you want to take that bigger budget that you already talked about and break it down. Identify who are the people, the time, the money, and resources for each one of these priorities. Because ultimately, to move forward, you need a clear plan for this. And then another thing within step 4 you can also do is you can start to kind of create some focus groups around those 2 or 3 priorities that you've identified. And your championship team can really lead this. So you can dive a little bit deeper, and you can go into, perhaps a focus group, engaging some of your customers, engaging some of your trade partners, some of your other colleagues within the business, maybe your competitors, depending on your business. We did that once with a construction organization. We included some competitors in the conversation. That was fantastic. We got real amazing data actually from that. So it all depends on your organization. Again, if you need help, connect with us. I'm happy to guide anybody. Step number 5, share the results and gain buy-in. So, okay, hey, we've identified these are our 2 or 3 big, hairy, audacious goals. We're going to dive into these for the next 6 months or year. Here's what we need from everybody to commit. Hey, you team communicated to us that these are going to be our new priorities. And so now, how do you want to contribute, right? So gain that buy-in. Would you like to join one of our teams? Would you like to, participate? How would you like to participate? So you want to give them multiple options on how they can contribute. And some will contribute and some won't. And that's got to be okay too, right? We don't want to be able to push somebody to do things that they don't want to do. We want to be able to inspire them to do the things that are going to help to grow a stronger culture. And then number 6 is create a commitment plan with multiple champions. Again, I like to use a report card system with our clients, so it's very tangible and measurable, and we can continually see the progress, good, bad, or ugly. But it's really this commitment plan with multiple champions and multiple timelines, so that you can see the progression and the success as things go forward. All right, number 7 is to celebrate successes and celebrate those wins. We want to be able to share whether it's weekly or monthly progress. And hey, we all know that we fail too, right? And so when failure happens, we want to share that. When we fail in certain areas, I always like to say we got to fail fast, we got to fail famously, and we got to fail forward. Right? So fail forward, but fail famously. Talk about it. Hey, this is why this particular thing didn't work. Let's talk about it more. Let's dig it up open more. Let's go deeper into it. Let's identify maybe this isn't the right priority for us as an organization. And so you start to really identify those wins as well as those challenges and those failures. So hopefully that will help, my friends, kind of identify a couple of ways that you can start to action these survey results and really put them into action. So again, surveys are just one of the many ways you can gather a voice of employee data. When we're talking about employee engagement, though, my number one advice to anybody would be start identifying a benchmark so that you understand where you are in terms of employee engagement. There's what we think we know, and then what we really know. And often as leaders in organization, when it comes to employee engagement, we're kind of stuck in this place of what we think we know. We think our team is engaged, they're happy, maybe they show up to the parties and they show up to the, the Zoom meetups and they're engaged and they look and feel happy. So let's measure that. Because if they are looking and feeling happy, let's identify where they are and can it get better? Or could it go down, right? So we want to be able to identify that benchmark. That is really important. So my number one tip is get yourself established in a benchmark. When you do a survey, have a plan to action and implement those survey results before you even start. All right, I think that's it for me, my friends. Thank you so much for tuning in. Go ahead and let me know in the chat if you watch this on live or on replays, hashtag CX Live or hashtag CX Replay. Let me know where you're from. And I'd love to also know your results. So if you're able to use and implement these tips that I'm sharing with you, please stay connected with us and let us know how they helped and what you learned, and how they contributed to that employee experience, employee engagement that we're looking for. All right, my friends, take care. Thank you so much. And I hope you took away some good tips. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye now.